Greetings, everyone. Harry Kolatz Jr. here to provide you with another installment of Carlisle Montgomery. Tell them Kolatz sent you. 5 Prima books from Sydney, Australia, available through harrykolatz.com, and I'll put that up there in the linkage. It is a happy Seuss-mas. It is the nativity anniversary of Theodore Geisel, otherwise known as Dr. Seuss. It's also a national read day as an educational program, annual educational program to encourage reading among school age people. While Carlisle is not a school age person, and this material is not necessarily suitable for school kids, I just want to say that right now. I think it's good excuse as any to read a segment. Also, I was trying to figure, well, how does this connect to Dr. Seuss at all? It really doesn't, except, oh, for the places she goes. This segment is taken from a tour of her own, where she is sending tape-recorded messages to her man back in Richmond, the artist Chris Carrick, who is left in charge of the house and her dog, Bocephus, the foundling that she took in. And so she records and muses and sends him singing and stories from the road. And this is a little bit about what he's hearing in his studio. He just puts her in and turns her on, as it were. So she's describing what's going on with her. And one day I hope to have an actual female person voice read this monologue, because I'd just love to hear someone else do it, perform it, present her words. You know what I like about going around on the blue roads, the little winding roads off the main drags that maybe don't even have markings on them? The bends. They're like rivers. You can't see around them. You don't know what's coming. Could be anything from a big truck you got to swerve out of the way from, or there's a farmstead and a big silo and curious cows swishing their tails by the fence, or horses prancing in the field, or little town and there's a diner there run by the same family whose name is on the faded sign out front, and they've served the same special for 3 weeks, but it's new to me. And it's a big hunk of meatloaf and sweet potatoes and greens and corn right off the farm. And the waitress serves endless coffee and calls me sweetie. And she might mean it. You come around and there's an old cemetery and a brick church and a funeral and shiny cars and people in black suits and women wearing big hats. And old farmhouses that I wonder how long they've stood there, and the sawmills that made the plankings, and the men who nailed it together, and who they were and what they did, and if that house was important or just another job, and how they're all dead now. And the Christmases and Thanksgivings, the weddings, the burials that started in that front parlor, and how they carried the casket to a hearse that maybe was a draped wagon. And who was left behind? And what happened after? Grungy, almost abandoned motels bypassed by highways. Don't know how they stay open. Some of them in parts are closed off like ghost ships. I saw one that has the cottages, motor lodge style, and it's getting renovated for yuppies from the city. I stayed in one. Clean sheets. I played a little in the courtyard, and the residents came out and sat in the grass, 1 by 1 and 2 by 2, like the fireflies that started blinking around. Or you go by oceans of daisies and buttercups. Power line towers marching across through cuts in the woods like alien robots. No houses anyway, but that big fat electricity going somewhere to a city invisible behind the trees. And sometimes you see a place Your headlights sweep across the shack, a brick box, cars and mud splash trucks parked around, and maybe there's a neon sign, dine, dance. And I pull off and go in there, and you know you're going to get some looks. No, I'm not from around here. That's pretty obvious. Everything kind of stops. And you go into one of those places. They see you with a guitar, and you better know what the hell you're doing. And I get asked, what kind of music? And I'll say just about anything, long as I like it and don't have to plug in anything. And I'll play some, and they start nodding to the rhythm and ask me to keep going, and I will, maybe all night. They give me something cold to drink, throw money in the guitar case. Thank you all, have a good night. She laughs, pauses, takes a swig of something. We're all happy I came. I mean, there's not anything like that. I get asked, she lowers and gruffs her voice, where are you from, Too Tall? Or Red, or once Stilts, which I kind of liked. I get to say Richmond, Virginia, and some of them have heard the name, and some give me this quizzical expression like, I'm either far from home or they don't like the place because of history, you name it. And so if they have heard of Richmond, it's usually about the Confederacy, crack, and the crime. So I get to tell them about the time when Edgar Poe, while visiting a dockside tavern, stood on a chair and started reciting passages from his great explanation of the universe, Eureka, where he talks about cosmic details that nobody understood until Einstein, except he's a poet and fiction writer before the Civil War. Edgar Poe stood in front of drunk dock workers and whores and gave them a vision of the creation that they didn't understand about black holes and parallel universes. Edgar Allan Poe did that? And I say, yes, sir, he sure did. And then you know the crime and enrichment, it's going down. And I got asked the other night, well, if it's so great, why are you out here? And I said, well, sir, Richmond's way down on the list of perfect, but everybody's got to be from somewhere. I'm just not ashamed to admit it. And then I sing something, and some fellow started calling me Richmond Red. Sounds like a baseball team, Richmond Reds, or a tobacco brand, or some kind of pill you pop. Hey, man, I got some Richmond Red. This shit'll blow your mind, man. I tell you, the other day it was blazing hot. I saw that coming, and I started before sunrise and drove like about 250 miles before Little Ram's AC quit on me, and so I've got the windows rolled, the mammals blasting out, but my check engine light comes on, and it's running hot. And I come up this hill in a curve, and sitting up there is a 2-story house with a big above-ground pool right next to it. Huge. Looked like some oil tank. Bunch of kids splashing and playing, so I pull off onto the gravel on the shoulder, and I get out. You know, there's a lot of me to get out of a car, out of a small car. And I look up, and all these wide-eyed faces are peering over the edge of the pool. 4 girls are wearing bright berets. And so I tell them what's going on and how I just need to let my engine cool so I can take a look and see what's what under the hood. And one of the kids yells, Mama! And sure enough, Mama comes out, hands on hips and an apron, not looking too pleased and also kind of mystified. So I told her my problem. I said, you know, this is brutal heat, and the pool, I'm sure, is just right. I can't do nothing with that car for another half hour or so. She laughed. Said, you got something for swimming in? Yeah, I told her. She asked, you ain't got no diseases or anything? And I just said the one that makes you crazy enough to make us drive in one day. You got the laws after you? Not today, I told her. So Mama, she's tall and skinny, and she tells me to go on over to the house and get into whatever I want. I grab a towel, t-shirt, shorts, get out of the car. The house is old and bent and crowded and smells like cauliflower and milk. Old brown pictures and fancy frames clustered on the baby grand shoved into the front room. But I go into this little cramped powder room with peeling wallpaper and get changed. Go out, climb up the ladder. The kids are gone for some reason, and I ease in there, and Chris, oh, I have died, and despite predictions, gone to heaven. Perfection. Like mama's love. I'm laying in there watching the clouds, and then the little faces in the rainbow of barrettes pop over the edge, and they come clamoring and splash around, and it's question time. What's your name? Where are you from? And after about an hour of that, I heave out, and the kids are fascinated. Is your hair real? Are you 8 feet tall? It's so hot, I figure I'm going to dry off pretty quick. I climb out of that pool, and there's guys hanging around my car, one of them a big fella in greasy overalls. That a rambler? He'd not seen one driving, he said, in years. And I told him the story. Rebuilt it yourself? He laughed. So now there's beers coming out. And there's barbecue. And I'm eating it, and I'm taking the car down to Big Al's garage, basically a corrugated shed in the middle of a junkyard. And I'm checking it out, making sure everything's okay. Looked like I got a radiator hose problem that Big Al was eager to help me with. To see me put it on, I think. And some Freon in the AC, but I think it's got a leak, and I need to see to that. Big Al says to me, if you put that car back together and can fix it, I'll need help around this place, and well, I figured you'd be good for business. I said, well, thank you, no, sir. I got to get on down this road. But look here now. Big Al comes around. He's got a limp and silver mustache. It's going to be dark here in another couple of hours. We got plenty of barbecue and catfish, too. And Chris, well, your girl loves to eat. And so I say, okay. And I get this big dinner outside on plank tables laid across oil drums. And I don't know if this is because I'm here or if they do this every Wednesday night. And so there I am, with the guitar singing with them songs they knew and I didn't. Some of my own. Her torrent of words stop, and there's a brush of wind against the microphone. Chris, I talked yet any to you about this kind of fear I feel around in the cities, but some of the small places too. In people our age even. There's suspicion of the government and conspiracy theories about what's going on in the world, but it's this thing with the millennium and the computer switching over to the year 2000. People are expecting, maybe even that they're hoping for the end of the world. Like anything crawling out of the wreckage would be better than what we got, like what's better than electric lights and indoor plumbing and Novocaine at the dentist? It's like people who say they got no religion counting on the rapture so they don't have to pay off their loans or their version. You know what I mean? What's the sense in anything if all we're looking for is the great tribulation and the end of days? Chris, I have seen bad things. I've seen terrible people and all that's happening in the news. You think about how everybody's just simple and crazy and people make money off them that way. But here I was in the middle of nowhere, looking like I do and talking the way I am in a busted, silly car, and they took me in. And I'll be coming back. I could have stayed and worked for Big Al, but I believe in home, and I'll be coming back to it. But right now, I'm not far from Louisville, and I am bone tired. Good night, baby. I miss Bocephus something fierce. Oh, and I miss you. I really, really miss you. Love you. She kissed the metal woven ball of the microphone. After listening, Chris popped a beer and went outside to look at the traffic on Boulevard North, where he did not see Little Ram sliding up the street. That's from Carlisle Montgomery, as you can see here, displayed. And here as well, all the, get it information will be observed. It's about 15 minutes. I didn't mean to last that long. Anyway, have a good one. Enjoy reading, kids. Read books. Stay in school. But you can't stay in school because school's not in, but it is. Anyway, thank you very much. Talk to you later.